we've had a question. Yeah, we've had a question in from Paul Austin Clark at Selby High School. He's a D&T technician. He says a little bit novice about electronics and was interested in producing an MP3 docking station with some of the students there. So what I thought would be quite nice is to show the different range of amplifier kits we do have, which could be used to make an MP3 amplifier, and sort of talk you through the differences between them, because amplifiers are incredibly popular. It's probably one of our best sellers, and over time we've been asked for different things really. So some that are basic, that are cheap, and others which offer cost more money but offer a lot more functionality. And sometimes I think it's not completely clear to people what the difference is. So I'm going to take you through them one at a time and explain what the difference is between them all. So at the bottom end we have our mono amplifier, which is I say it's still a good amplifier. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It offers a reasonable sound quality, and but it is cheap. You can buy these for under £2 per kit if you buy enough of them. It's okay. So mono amplifier, I should expect, it's only got a single speaker. This is because only amplifies a single channel. The connection on it is a 3.5mm jack connector. There isn't the option with this kit to use an iPhone lead. The reason for that is that this kit doesn't have any volume control. So the way the volume is controlled is by the varying the volume on your MP3 player. So are we going to do a quick demo of this sound quality, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, right, we're going to do a quick demo of it for you. We'll just get Michael. Could you just pass me a 9-volt battery, please? There's one on the side there. Now, if you've got a catalogue, or you can see this online, it tells you the input voltages that these amplifiers all use. Okay, thank you. The chips have got quite a wide range of input voltage they'll accept. So, for instance, this will run from 3 to 16 volts. Now, the higher the voltage you use, in effect, the louder you'll be able to play the amplifier before it becomes distorted. And there is a good reason for this. You're going to put this one on? Right. So yeah, there we go, that's on. The sound quality of the speakers is improved if you house them properly. So that's the mono one. Now, okay, let's just start. So that's the mono amplifier. Still a good sound quality. Now, what I was talking about the supply voltage, we use a 9-volt battery here, and that's probably extremely common. You could run it off a lower voltage, for instance 5 volts, but it does affect the sound quality at high volume. Now, I think what we'll do is just to zoom back up onto the board and explain it, because it's something that we get asked quite a lot. Yeah, what we've got, you can imagine that you've got these are your voltage rails. So this is 0 volts, and then this is the voltage that is supplied from your power source. So in this instance, I've used this is 9 volts with 9-volt battery. So we've got an audio signal which we're amplifying. So you've got this input signal, which is a small kind of audio signal, and then we've amplified that to be larger or louder. Hence, so it sounds louder. Now, if you can imagine it, we've amplified it this loud. It all sounds great, fantastic. And it's nice and clear. Now we can keep turn the volume up, and at some point this amplifier signal will exceed the supply voltage. Now it will actually sound louder, but what you do is you've lost this bit, and you've also lost this bit here. So it sounds louder. It will start to sound distorted because you're clipping off the top and bottom of the audio signal. Do you see that quite clearly on there? Yeah, come across clearly. Yeah. So if we use a higher voltage, this effect would occur at a louder volume. So if we've used a 9-volt battery and it's nice and loud, still nice and clear. If we had a higher voltage, we could play it louder and it'd still be clearer. But it's not always practical. Often people might want to power these from a USB lead. Well, that's 5 volts, so this level would occur much lower. So it might be at this point we start to lose these bits of the signal. It starts to sound distorted. So it's kind of a personal preference depending on what you're trying to do. 9 volts works really well. If you want to play it louder and you still want it to be clear, you could use a high voltage, 12 volts or more. You know, you might want to use a lower voltage, something like a USB. 5 volts you get from a USB, but you have to appreciate that it will limit how loud you can play it and still maintain a clear signal. And that's the same for all the amplifiers we've got. Okay, can we come back down to this? So that's the mono amplifier. The next step up from the mono amplifier is the stereo amplifier. You can remember with most of these kits that they're also available in a built version. If you buy a built version, all the components on the PCB are already assembled. We still don't connect the leads. That's often because the speaker might be housed somewhere else in the enclosure. You might want to run that wire somewhere. You know, these may go through holes or come outside the box. So you don't want to necessarily create a hole that big just to poke it through. So we'll let you connect those yourselves. But it does take away probably 90% of the build work. So that's the mono amplifier. The next step up is the stereo amplifier. Now, it's extremely close or similar to the mono amplifier. This one is. Obviously, this time it's got 2 speakers. The sound output is pretty much the same. You've still got a 3.5mm jack lead. Again, you don't have the facility with this one to connect an iPod lead because it hasn't got volume control. So as before, the volume is controlled by adjusting the volume to the headphone socket on your MP3 player or phone. So let's try this one out again. So again, it probably sounds very similar. If I can work this. But this time, the sound's coming out of both speakers. But yeah, it's a neat little kit. Because you've got 2 speakers, the sound quality is improved and you get the stereo effect between the 2 speakers. And it's a little bit more money than the mono amplifier, but you know, it's not a whole lot more. Most of the extra cost is in the additional speaker. So that's the stereo version. Now, the next step on is the Deluxe amplifier. Now, this does offer a lot more functionality. Can we have an iPod there? Just so I can. Yeah. So this is much more. You get a lot more for your money with this kit. Stereo amplifier again. It uses the same amplifier IC that we had in the previous stereo amplifier. So the volume output is no louder. But you do get extra functionality. The one we've got built here has got a 3.5mm stereo jack. With this kit, you do have the option, if you want to buy it with an iPod connector. So this will go into the bottom of your iPhone or your iPod device itself. The reason we can use this lead with this kit is because this has a volume control. Now the reason you need that is because this connection into the bottom of the iPod, unlike the headphone jack, the output level to this connector isn't controlled by the volume on the device. It's always the full volume. It's always at its maximum. So if you don't have a volume control to turn it down, no matter what you do, it's always full bout, which is not really practical. So you need a volume control on the amplifier itself. So, thank you, Michael. So yeah. So what do we get extra with this then? So it's stereo again, 2 speakers. You have some extra little bits on here. Got the volume control, really neat and tidy. We've got a power LED. This is mounted on the PCB, but you could happily take that off, put it on wires, and mount it into an enclosure. We have a power switch. So with other kits, you'd have to either take the battery out or put an inline switch with the power lead, like as I described this morning. And this also has a facility to take a DC power supply. So we sell DC power supplies. We do a 12 volt. Where's it gone? We do a 12 volt power supply. It was around somewhere.
Plugged in.
It's plugged in. That's right. Yeah. So this is a high amp version, but we do one that's 500 milliamps, which is perfectly fine for the amplifier we've got there. So you can plug that in, and the good the way it's wired, you could actually have a battery connected, plug in the DC power supply, and it switches from battery to the power supply. Then if you pull that jack out, it switches back onto the battery. So it kind of, you can do sort of a hot swap with the power source. So let's try this one out then. So it should sound pretty much exactly the same as the one we had a minute ago. And what's the volume on? Just wait a bit louder. So yeah. But this time we've got the, we can adjust the sound level by the volume control here, so it's like down, then we can wind it up, which is quite nice feature. And again, these speakers here. Often people ask us if it's possible to improve the quality of the speakers. Now, the three kits I've shown you here, the mono, the stereo, and this deluxe amplifier, have these paper cone speakers. They're not bad speakers, and they are improved. The sound quality improved a lot when they're housed properly, so you don't get this, sound drifting. Well, what happens is the speaker moves forward and air can move to the back of the speaker because there's a vacuum created there. When it's properly housed, that can't occur, and you get much better sound quality. But they are a kind of a budget speaker, really. You could use the speakers I'm going to show you in a minute with a high power amplifier with this kit, even though this can't get anywhere near driving them at full volume. They're a better quality speaker, and it will improve the sound. We also have just bought out this little speaker here. These are rated at 0.5 watt, whereas these are rated at 2 watts, and they're by a German company called Visiton. Being German, I should expect the quality of these speakers is excellent. We sell these speakers for about 45 pence. I think these are about £1.50. But it's you can't really appreciate it here, but the quality of the magnet's much better, the quality of the overall speaker is much better. And even though it's smaller, if you use these speakers with any of the kits I've shown you now, it does improve the sound quality. This has also got a IP rated cone. So finally, this is sealed securely into an enclosure. It can be used to create an IP rated design, so you could use the speaker outside if you wish to. But if you wanted to improve the quality of the sound from some of the kits we have here, you could upgrade to a better speaker, buy these and add these onto the kit you're using. So it's worth looking at. And then moving on from that kit, we've got the new really high power amplifier that we bought out this year. So let me get this out. This is quite large. Okay, so this kit, I think it's can produce 15 watts per channel, but that's true power as well. It's not some kind of peak power. It's a true RMS power. With a 12 volt supply, it's more like about 10 watts, but I can assure you that it's still incredibly loud. We've had this on in our office, and we can't have it at full volume. It's just too noisy. It's painfully loud. But yeah, so what we've got is two really high quality speakers, again from the German manufacturer, as Thomas spoke about a minute ago. They're a full range speaker. They're really good quality. Yeah, these are the kind of speakers you just kind of see in your car, but they're really good ones. So the sound quality of these is excellent. Like the Deluxe amp I showed you earlier, this has got a power LED, it's got a power switch, it's got volume control. We've got a great big heatsink. I mean, you can see here. You can imagine if it's you producing 15 watts per channel, this is going to be producing 30 watts overall. So it's going to get warm. So if you're playing it full belt, the chip gets incredibly hot. If it does overheat, it's got a thermal shutdown function built in, but we don't want it to be kicking on and off. So to ensure that doesn't happen, it's bolted to this great big heatsink we see here. So yeah, it's just because it's so powerful that you do need a heatsink like this to make it work. But yeah, I mean, this is really good. You really can't use this off batteries because well, you could, but your batteries wouldn't last very long. So when we sell the kit, it comes supplied with a 2 amp 12 watt power supply. So I'll turn this on in a second. Just plug it in. Hopefully this isn't going to deafen us all. Now, I don't know if you can really kind of appreciate this online, but sound quality out of this is way beyond the other kits, down to the quality of the speakers and obviously how loud it can go. We can play this really loud. So it's a really good kit. My personal opinion is this would kind of produce a sound quality that's comparable with something you spend well over £100 or into the hundreds of pounds within the shop. Again, you know, you're going to have to think about how you mount these speakers and a nice design for it. But you know, if you really want to build yourself a high-end kind of audio or iPod dock, this is a good choice. Again, because it's got volume control, it is available with an iPod lead if that's what you know. That's the connect. So you can either have the 3.5mm jack lead or you can have the iPod lead, whichever you prefer. So yeah, it's a great kit. It's more expensive, obviously. I mean, the speakers are themselves add a cost to it. If you've got your own speakers and you know you've got a proper set of bookshelf speakers and you want to build your own iPod dock that's just the amplifier, we do sell the amplifier just on its own, so you can buy it without the speakers and the power supply and just add the bits you want. We do also we've started stocking these kind of things which may be of interest. If for instance you want to mount these speakers off in different, you know, you might have a 3-part design where the amplifier is in one case and the speakers are mounted in different cases or elsewhere or permanently into some kind of table or something. You might want to run the cables in a neat fashion. So instead of having the cable going directly from the board to the speaker, you can mount these onto the back of your amplifier and onto the back of your speakers, and then it allows you to, you know, neat little sprung connectors here so you can connect the cables through. So I'm sure you've seen these kind of things before. They're quite common on speakers. Really simple. Just drill a hole. You'd break this cable in effect, solder one end to this on the inside of the case, and then the speaker be mounted in your other enclosure, and you do the same on the other side. So there's quite useful, I suppose, if that's what you're trying to do. So I hope that's giving you a good overview of the different amplifiers we do. So as I say, there's four available. The ones with the volume control are available with an iPod lead. So there's pretty much something for everyone. And we also do built versions if you're not interested in doing some soldering. So I hope that sort of covers it. But if you think I've missed something, you want me to go through it again later on today, just drop us an email and we'll do our best to answer it. Like again, anyone who does